While war, as defined, is an intense armed conflict between states, we humans took it to another level. We did a war with emus. Yes, you listened it carefully. Emus. The Emu War, also known as the Great Emu War, was a nuisance wildlife management military operation undertaken in Australia over the latter part of 1932 to address public concern over the number of emus said to be running amok in the Campion district of Western Australia. Following World War I, large numbers of discharged veterans who served in the war were given land by the Australian government to take up farming within Western Australia, often in marginal areas. With the onset of the Great Depression in 1929, these farmers were encouraged to increase their wheat crops, with the government promising, and failing to deliver, assistance in the form of subsidies. In spite of the recommendations and the promised subsidies, wheat prices continued to fall, and by October 1932, matters were becoming intense, with the farmers preparing to harvest the season's crop while simultaneously threatening to refuse to deliver the wheat. The difficulties facing farmers were increased by the arrival of as many as 20,000 emus. Emus regularly migrate after their breeding season, heading to the coast from the inland regions. With the cleared land and additional water supplies being made available for livestock by the Western Australian farmers, the emus found that the cultivated lands were good habitat, and they began to foray into farm territory, in particular the marginal farming land around Chandler and Walgoolan. The emus consumed and spoiled the crops, as well as leaving large gaps in fences where rabbits could enter and cause further problems. And this led to a war.
If we want one of your cars, we'll certainly let you know.
The Great Emu War.
Unfortunate farmers whose wheat crops have been trampled down by emus. Getting never used army of keen eyesight, and in order to get close to the main body, our lads have to do some real stalking, with the enemy watching events through their periscopes.
Farmers relayed their concerns about the birds ravaging their crops, and a deputation of ex-soldiers was sent to meet with the Minister of Defence, Sir George Pearce. The war was conducted under the command of Major Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery, with Meredith commanding soldiers Sergeant McMurray and Gunner O'Halloran, armed with 2 Lewis guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The first attempt was made on the 2nd of November. The men travelled to Campion, where some 50 emus were sighted. As the birds were out of range of the guns, the local settlers attempted to herd the emus into an ambush, but the birds split into small groups and ran so that they were difficult to target. Nevertheless, while the first fusillade from the machine guns was ineffective due to the range, a second round of gunfire was able to kill a number of birds. Later the same day a small flock was encountered, and perhaps a dozen birds were killed. The second war attempt was effective. In addition, Meredith claimed 2,500 wounded birds had died as a result of the injuries that they had sustained. By December 1932, word of the Emu War had spread, reaching the United Kingdom. Some conservationists there protested the colour's extermination of the rare emu. The Great Emu War had finally come to an end. The gangly bird that takes its place of pride on the Australian coat of arms has had its status as a protected animal reinstated. We humans are crazy. And our history is even crazier. It's still unbelievable that we did a war with a bird and we partially lost it. Despite it, our history makes us think how far we can go rather than our imaginations. And that's what's something interesting about mankind.